Hello everyone, welcome to Kevin Hunt's Dragon Dart Racing and Videos channel. Well, it's that time of year, racing season's over pretty much for me. Uh, Time for a little maintenance. So I'm going to walk you through some of the maintenance things I do to this car. I ended up getting a best ET 8th mile of a 7.14. In fact, I run 3 of them in a row at Coles County Dragway at 95 mile an hour. That's my best. So I ran a lot of 720s in the normal summer weather. The extreme heat, it would be like maybe 730s, but that's good. So I'm trying to get down to 7.0. I'm not sure what I want to do. I'm not going to do a whole bunch to it, but luckily all I'm going to have to do is just regular maintenance. So, and the thing about a car like this, it really doesn't need a lot of constant work, constant repair. It just needs normal maintenance like you do on a everyday car like my truck. It's just the intervals are a lot sooner. So the first thing we're going to do is changing the transmission fluid, draining the fluid, taking the pan off, making sure there's no chunks of things in there, and put a new gasket and a new filter and fill it up. So let's get started. First off, you want to make sure your car is safely jacked up in the air. But you can see I got safety stands there, and then up under here. So you don't want to get under with just the jack. Never do that. Never get under the car with just the jack. So we got that part taken care of, and I'll hop under there and start draining the fluid. Alright, as you can see, I'm under the car, and I got my pan positioned under the transmission pan, and I'll get you a little better view of that. Luckily, these have drain plugs on them, so I don't have to worry about tipping the pan, or I do have a siphoner that siphons fluid through the dipstick tube, and that's really a help if you don't have drain plugs. As you can see, this Moroso deep pan has drain plugs there and there. So I'm going to break those loose and drain the fluid before we move any further. Alright, I'm going to try to get this loose while I'm working on the camera. Oh, look at that. Ooh, I don't think I had that tight enough. Luckily it didn't come loose, huh? Then we'll just take this out and we'll let her drain. Try not to get it all over me or all over the floor. Usually I put the drain plan where I don't want the fluid to go, because it usually goes everywhere else but there. Here it comes. There. Okay, we got the plug loose and the fluid is draining in the pan, so we'll let it do its thing. While that's draining, I'll show you what we're going to be using to do this transmission service. I've got some of this ATI Super Type F synthetic transmission fluid. I like the Type F on the Mopars. There's different things that people like to use. They used to use Dextron. Some of the guys like the new ATF Plus 4, which is good fluid. But I've always run the Type F and the Torque Flights, and it works really well for me. It gives it a nice firm shift. And then the filter I'm using is a TCI filter. It's actually a screen. I like the screens a little better for drag racing. Regular stuff, they have a regular filter media, but I think you get a little more flow with the screen. I prefer it. And of course, the good old Summit Racing formed gasket. I don't really care for the little rubbery gaskets that come with this, so I use these. So that's what we'll be doing. Next, we'll be getting the pan off. We're back under the car now. I'm going to start taking the bolts loose. I've got one of those flat drip pans that you put under your car when you park it. So I leave it under, that way you haven't got that bulky pan in your way, because you're still going to get some drips even though you've drained it. So I'm going to get a few of these bolts out and we'll get the pan off. Hey, if you got air tools, use them. Well, I got the pan loosened up finally. I'm just getting the last little bit of it off. It was really glued good. I had her glued good. There it went. Let's look inside there. Oh, that little bit Let's see. Just a little bit of residue, some metallic fragments. You know, I like how they put a magnet in there to catch all the aluminum. Yeah, the filter looks real good. Now that we're out from underneath the car, we can get a better look at this stuff. Like I said, there's a little bit of residue. Some of that's stuff I knocked in there from getting that pan off. It did fight me getting that thing off, believe me. And then the filter, everything looks pretty good. There's a little bit on the extension gasket. This is it's got a deep pan, so you've got this extension piece. And of course this gasket goes with it, like so. And then this is the gasket that comes, new one will come with the filter. As you can see, there's just a little bit of fine metallic stuff on there, but that filter is clear. I wasn't having any transmission problems at all. So we'll get everything cleaned up and we'll start putting her back in, and then we'll fill her with fluid. Well, I drained the transmission fluid out of the pan and put it in my little jug here, there's an old washer fluid jug. So there's right at a gallon. And then this old Lucas jug, which I can't see through it, it's about there. So probably maybe 7.5. That's about right. These hold right at 8 when they're totally empty. So I've got probably 7 quarts here, not 7 gallons. I hope I didn't say that wrong. But basically just under 2 gallons, and that's what I got. And I got some extra too, but about 7 quarts ought to take it. So once I get it cleaned up, I'll put it together and then we'll finish it up. And that's about all there is to it. As you can see, the trans pan is nice and clean, nothing too fancy. Can of brake clean, little die grinder with an aluminum abrasive disc, scrapers, just a little bit of elbow grease. There's the filter and the gasket, the extension is all cleaned up and the screws are ready to go. One thing I'd like to show you. You know how I said earlier that I didn't really care much for the gaskets that come with the filter kits. I like to use a different gasket. Well, it's a good thing because these gaskets were in this box, and this box says, if you look real close, I'll get it right up on there, 727 and 904 filter and pan gasket. These, if memory serves, this looks like a C6 Ford, and I believe this one is a C4 Ford. So I got Ford gaskets with a Chrysler transmission. I'll save them for my buddy Joe. I am going to shift gears with what I said earlier. I'm going to go ahead and use this Moroso gasket instead of the Summit one. I'd already started opening it before I showed you, but I'm going to go ahead and use it instead. And I shouldn't have to use quite as much sealer. That thing really fought me coming off. That gasket there, I had to use a fair amount of sealer to keep it from seeping. So I'm going to use this Moroso this time. I got the filter ready to go, got the extension on it, got the 2 gaskets on it. Now if this would have been a stock tranny service change, the fiber reef filter, there's no gasket. But with this extension there's a gasket on both sides. One up to the valve body where my thumb is, and then between this screen style filter and the extension piece. So it's just a matter of me finishing tightening up the filter to the valve body. No air tools putting this on. I want to make sure we don't over tighten anything. Putting the bolts in the transmission pan now. So all I got to do is just go around and put them to all the way around, torque them up, and we'll be ready to go. Well, that's basically it. The pan's on. I did put a little bit of sealer on it because the imperfections and a few little nicks here and there on the transmission case, so it'll help fill in those imperfections with the black RTV. So I'm just going to pretty much end the video here. I mean, all that's left to do is just take the old dipstick out, set it over here, take your funnel, and put the proper amount of fluid in it. This being an older Chrysler product, the recommended way is to leave it in neutral, not park, for the proper level. So you want to make sure the wheels are chalked real good. You don't want that thing rolling away on you. Even at best, if you had someone in, a helper with you at that time. So I appreciate you watching. If you like what you see, please like and subscribe. That really helps me out for the little bit I get from YouTube on the racing operation. Remember, when you do that, you're a part of my racing team, and I do thank you very much. So have a blessed day, and we'll see you next time.